Can you eat McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's on a keto diet? That's the topic today. I'm Dr. Eric Westman, and we'll be talking about fast food on a low carb or keto diet. If you don't have my tips for how to start keto in the right way, check down below in the description for the link. I started researching low carb keto diets back in, 1998 now, so over 20 years ago. And I didn't know much about nutrition, and like most doctors, didn't get much training in nutrition in medical school or in residency. I did an internal medicine residency, and I did learn about total parenteral nutrition, which is what you give someone who's very sick and can't eat. Tube feedings and then intravenous feedings. But we didn't get much nutrition in the medical training, and I'm afraid that's still true today. So even 30, 40 years later, there's very little nutrition being taught. And I have to think that most of my doctor colleagues get their information from ads on TV or companies that want you to buy their products. For example, how would you get orange juice if you didn't have how would you get vitamin C if you didn't have orange juice, right? They're so inextricably linked. But there's more to it, to nutrition, and yes, fast food gets a bad rap in terms of quality and can't possibly be good for you. In fact, some of my doctor colleagues will inadvertently advise things that don't work. There's no studies about them. My colleagues might say, just don't eat fast food, or just go home, eat less, exercise more. That's how you lose weight and keep it off. And these are not approved ways. They don't really work for just about everyone. And sometimes even the doctor will use what worked for them as the persuasion. It worked for me to start eating quinoa, one of my patients was told, and then he came back to me and said, what's a quinoa? So I'm in a clinic. It's important to know that I'm in a clinic setting where I teach a low-carb keto diet. It's pretty much a weight loss, diabetes reversal clinic now, and we don't recommend exercise. You don't need to exercise to lose weight. So if you have knee pain or arthritis so bad that you don't even try to lose weight because you think you need to exercise to lose weight, that's not true. You can lose weight by changing the food without exercise, so don't let that be a barrier for you to start. So if food is the answer, food is critical, and doctors get no training in it, really, for the most part. You really have to come up with your own information yourself, and that's okay, because we have the vast resources of YouTube and other information now, which is a double-edged sword. But basically, you want to get protein every day. You want to get some fatty acids every day. These are called essential nutrients, amino acids and fatty acids. And if you eat animal protein sources, you're going to get all of that you need. Eggs, meat, poultry, fish and shellfish and eggs are the foundation of a properly trained keto low-carb diet. And because we're not worrying about a seizure happening, something that catastrophic, we don't have to teach to be worrying about macros. We don't teach you to worry about the fat and the protein ratio at every meal. We don't even teach you to monitor ketone levels, although you can. It takes it away from the reach of most of my patients in Durham, North Carolina. So I'm in a clinic. It's insurance pay, all sorts of insurance, and Medicare, Medicaid. People shop at the fanciest grocery stores. They shop at the least expensive. They go to fast food. So how am I going to help a patient who comes to me who is only eating at fast food? Should I tell them don't eat at fast food restaurants or establishments, whatever I want to call it? Some people get upset when I say restaurant, but is it something I should just say go eat at fast food? Well, that person's never coming back. So it's not that. So I learned about this not by telling people to go ahead, it's okay to eat at these fast food places. I had patients coming back to me, telling me after my teaching class that you need to keep the carbs super low, basically eat, protein till you're full. You might add in a little sugar-free things here and there if you need it, and then a limited amount of vegetables. People started coming back losing weight. I remember vividly this young man who only ate at McDonald's. I mean, any of these establishments are fine. In fact, I kind of know the top 10 things to recommend to people in our area, just to help people get started or even long term. And so I don't ask people to go home and write down what they eat. That's too much work. What happens on a program like mine is you get taught, you get a simple system, all the foods are just on one list. Hunger goes down, and just about everyone has a reduction in hunger and appetite so that you lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. That's 4 to 8 per month, 50 to 100 per year. No pills, no products, no shots, no surgeries. It's pretty amazing. It goes back 150 years in the Western literature. The Banting diet is really a variation of what I teach. So this fellow came back. I don't make you write down, but at home. But he wrote out on the sheet of paper. I said, give me an example of what you eat and drink over the course of the day. And he just wrote McDonald's. And he was down 10 pounds. I mean, so when I go in the office room, I know, if the weight's down 10 pounds for the month, this person probably followed the plan. If it's not down, there may be mitigating circumstances, a surgery, a prednisone, a Flonase nasal spray, some other medication sort of thing. But this fellow had clearly lost weight, and he wrote down McDonald's. So I started to probe a little deeper, I didn't really say you should go to McDonald's. He says, well, that's where I always go. So I'm curious. That's how I got into this 20-some years ago. I saw patients in front of me do it and was curious to learn how they did it. Then had to demonstrate for my curiosity and to my benefit that there was no harm in doing it. That was the first thing I had to convince myself. So he comes back basically eating the burgers with no bun. And I know it's kind of dating. He was eating off the dollar menu at McDonald's. I don't think that exists anymore. I know it doesn't exist anymore. So he was having 2 to 3 double cheeseburgers, no bun, no fries, no sugar in the drinks. So you can have diet sodas or water or anything. And I told him, it's okay. Don't sweat eating stuff on the bun or on the meat as long as it's not a whole lot of ketchup or a lot of sauce, that sort of thing, because you're not going to get a whole lot of it. And so you don't want to be too worried about the carblets or the little micro carbs. It's all about the grams of carbs, and we keep people under 20 total grams, not net, for the day. And so some days he was just not hungry, and he ate 1 meal a day. He might have had 2 double cheeseburgers, and he was satisfied with that meal and having that in a repeated fashion. And it's interesting how some people come to me eating the same sorts of things every day, and they say, well, I'm happy with it. It's 3 fewer decisions I need to make over the course of the day. Then there's some people who come to me wanting to have something new, and every day has to be a different flavor, and it has to be, it's like you're getting all this sensory, sort of, in fact, entertainment from eating. But what I need to be sure of, whether you want variety or you're happy with a little variety, is that you're getting great nutrition. And so this fellow eating at McDonald's, looking through the nutrition that someone gets just from eating meat, lo and behold, through the years, the carnivore idea has grown, and it's a simple way to make the food even less distracting, because it might not be good for everyone, meaning not satisfying for everyone, but you can actually get sufficient nutrition from mainly meat sources, if not all meat sources, actually. And if you could add in some eggs, and I'd be a little happier. I would worry less. But it's going back to the gentleman at McDonald's. I had to think through. Okay, he's getting adequate nutrition while losing weight. So he's getting fat weight loss. So basically the hunger goes down, so you start burning your own body fat. And then the ketones come from your body fat. And that's where the idea of a keto diet comes from. So that ketones go up in the blood, and then these are used in cells that used to use glucose. Even the brain can use ketones for proper function. So, but then, the people started coming in having had weight loss surgery and wanting pills and shots and trying to balance all the different things while eating at a fast food place. And he basically did it every day. To me, is less risky, well, to everyone, right, than weight loss surgery. And that's a commonly accepted tool. Of course, we criticize the weight loss surgery approach because you'll lose some lean body mass. It's hard to get enough protein at the beginning to support your muscles, and so you'll probably lose some muscle. But the balance is that you'll also maybe save your life because you're carrying around less fat. And then people come to me for shots that cut the hunger out, and some people are even not being told what to eat, and they're given shots. And this is a recipe for problems. You need to be sure you're getting the protein, the fat, those essential nutrients, and not having much of the sugar, ultra-processed food. We kind of all agree now that that's sort of the big, thing to avoid. So any well-studied, balanced approach will minimize or eliminate the sugary, highly processed foods. So basically, this fellow lost somewhere between 50 and 100 pounds. I can't track back to find him anymore, sadly. But I've incorporated and learned from him in my teaching, in that I don't prohibit, and I don't even talk down about fast food and restaurants. I mean, I appreciate that some people can only eat there, and then you kind of have to wonder why the fast food places aren't part of the solution for weight loss. You all remember that Subway guy who lost all this weight, and they used it for marketing. But then you have to remember that these companies are in the business of selling food. So why would they want to make you figure out a way that you could eat less? So, on balance, this gentleman was purchasing less food because he was using his body fat. And so I could see why, from a business standpoint, they don't want to recommend that people eat less food, even though they're getting healthier. Although I think a progressive company like Subway could get in the game and say, hey, here's a way to lose weight eating our food. And then, so you embrace the low carb concept, keep the starches super low. So you would ditch the buns, you'd have no fries. And we're starting to see, at least in our area, some things like these chicken sticks, so like fry-like things. So fast food, it seems to me, is getting the signal that a lot of people don't want to eat much carbohydrate at their establishments, and making it easier. But it didn't take me long to not feel weird when someone said, "You don't want a bun? What's wrong with you?" But I don't care what the person at the store thinks about what I'm eating. But a lot of people are sensitive to that. They don't want to feel like they're doing something out of the mainstream. So getting a burger without a bun, there are a lot of names for these different things. I don't even worry about a lettuce wrap. I just will, push the bun away or use knife and fork instead of always insisting on something to hold. Although in that regard, have you had a chaffle yet? There are chaffles, and then, it took over 40 years, I think, because Dr. Atkins wrote about something called a revolution roll, where you whip up your egg whites, fold it into cream cheese and eggs, put it on a cookie sheet. It then became oopsie rolls, and then protein-sparing bread, and now there's a company called Cloud Bread, cloudbreadcompany.com, I think it is, and in our local stores in the frozen section, you can actually get a couple of these cloud breads already made for you. You pop them in the microwave, and there you are. You have your bread. All these substitutions that are becoming more available, it's really never been easier to do a low-carb keto diet than today, and the social acceptance is so much higher too. So you don't have to go to fast food, and the same I'll do a video on restaurant eating, ethnic restaurants. A lot of people think, well, I had to go to the Italian place and I had to have pasta. No, you don't. We'll talk about that in another video. But so fast food actually can be part of a keto diet, keeping the carbs super low, focusing on having the protein and fat, which is your major source of nutrition. I hope that's helpful, and please click that you like this, subscribe, send this to a friend. It is a grassroots movement, and if you don't have my top 10 tips to start keto the right way, it's in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and check out adaptyourlifeacademy.com.